Presentation of Dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho.
Coming up next on Dialogue, she set lofty goals and achieved them. What can we all learn from Olympic gold medalist and world champion cyclist Kristin Armstrong about fitness, nutrition, and perseverance? That's next. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Dialogue. I'm Marcia Franklin. A welcome as well to those of you listening on public radio and the World Wide Web. My guest tonight was already a world record holder in her sport, as well as the American champion 5 times over. But an elusive Olympic gold medal was still dangling out there. In August 2008, it was dangling around her neck as Idahoan Kristin Armstrong stood atop the podium at the Beijing Olympics to celebrate a first-place finish in the women's cycling time trial. She covered the nearly 15-mile course in a phenomenal pace of under 35 minutes, beating her nearest opponent by nearly 25 seconds. It was only the second time an American female cyclist had won a gold medal in the Olympics, and the last time that happened was in 1984. And it's a medal the other Armstrong cyclist, Lance, doesn't have. By the way, they are not related. But Kristin still had one more piece of business to take care of. In September 2009, she claimed her second world championship in the women's time trial held in Switzerland, blowing out her nearest competitor by 55 seconds, a huge margin. With those accomplishments under her helmet, the 36-year-old has now hung up her competitive racing wheels. So what's next, and what questions do you have for Kristin? Here's your chance to talk to an Olympic and world champion. Call us at 1-800-973-9800. First of all, what else to say but congratulations.
Thank you.
It's phenomenal. The last time you were here, you had finished 8th in the Olympics, and you said, "This isn't good enough for me. I'm going back. I'm going to be at Beijing. This is going to push me forward." And you were right.
Yeah, it just seemed like yesterday. I was driving down here tonight thinking, wow, doesn't seem like 4 years ago or 5 years ago that I was here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Before we talk about what it's been like to win, I was curious, what is it like to stop? I mean, after you've been doing this for so long, what are the feelings? Is it strange?
Oh, I think there's a lot of mixed feelings. You know, every year in the month of October, I take it really easy. And so nothing's really changed in my life yet. I always am a little bit hesitant and nervous about what's to come this spring, because once it starts getting warmer again and people are racing and talking about racing, I think that I'm going to have a little bit of a difficult time. It's going to be a transition, and I'm ready for the transition, but I am not going to say it's going to be easy.
So are there things you can do now that you couldn't do before? I mean, things that you can eat, for instance, or do you still kind of maintain your same regimen even though you're...
Well, you know, after being in such a habit and being so regimented for so many years, it's hard just to kick a habit. And though I have been, you know, the month of October, I take it a little easier, I eat a little bit, you know, I'm not as regimented with my diet. You know, I've been doing these things, but what's been the most enjoyable is to get out. I've been able to ride my mountain bike. I've been able to go out and hike, enjoy the trails amongst Boise, and just really I've been able to spend a lot more time with my friends.
Why ultimately did you decide to retire?
Well, you know, I have to say, I'm not sure if I could have gone to retirement if I didn't win that gold medal. I'm so competitive that I feel that the gold medal at the Olympics is definitely the pinnacle of sport. And so I'm really very much at peace with what I've accomplished in the sport. And so when I look at what else do I want to do, I came back, I won a world championship medal, I want to leave on top. I want to leave while I still enjoy the sport. And now I feel that I'm ready to give back to the sport and to help others reach their dreams.
And have a life, too.
That's true.
Well, let's talk about your most recent accomplishment, which was the Worlds. We have some videotape of that. Can you explain what that experience was like? I mean, everything has to click together for that little bit of time, and we've got some video of that. Why don't you describe that?
Yeah, you know, the stars have to be aligned. There's no question. And when the stars are aligned, it's an unbelievable day. And when people ask you, what was that competition like? What was the race like? You actually don't remember much of it. It's a blur. And everything came together this day, just like it did in Beijing. And it was just amazing. And so I want to remember this feeling as I retire. And just when I do look back at the memories, this is one of them.
Let's listen.
The finish line as the new leader by 55 seconds, and now has positioned herself to take her second ever world title in the time trial discipline. What an effort from a true champion, Kristin Armstrong.
Pretty emotional there, and hot, I imagine. So there you are. Gosh, the gal next to you looks like she's about 16. you really. And that margin was incredible.
Yeah, every time I watch myself on the podium and watching the American flag raise, listening to the national anthem, it's no better feeling.
Let's talk a little bit about the discipline, as he called it, of time trialing. It's different, obviously, than being in a road race. You're racing against the clock. This is your helmet. Maybe you can show people a little bit.
Yeah, so the time trial race is actually, they call it the race of truth, because you're out there, it's you against the clock, and the fastest rider wins. There's no elements except for if you have a flat tire, maybe you drop a chain, maybe you don't turn a corner properly, but in road racing there's a lot more to it. And so in the time trial, aerodynamics is very important, and you can see this time trial helmet here. It has a tail, and so you can see how this really contributes to the aerodynamics. You want to have the airflow over your back just perfectly. And so I've spent several times down in the wind tunnel, 5 or 6 times, to perfect my position. And every time I change a piece on my bike, whether it be wheels, whether it be a skin suit, whether it be just my bike frame, I will go down to the wind tunnel in San Diego and retest. And this is just about being on the top.
And this is really, really light. I mean, I picked it up and it's like cardboard almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it
is safety though. It still has a shell inside of it, and so yeah, it's just like a normal helmet, but it has that great tail.
Now, why do you think you're so good at the time trial? Is it a body issue? Is it more of an endurance sport?
You know, the time trial takes, I believe, to be successful in time trialing, you have to have the mental focus. And there's a lot of cyclists out there that are great in the team time trial, and you can watch that on the Tour de France or the Tour d'Italy or the Giro d'Italia. But what's really important is to keep focused, and to do that on your own is really difficult. And so I know some of the strongest cyclists out there, and they don't have that focus. And so I really focus on training my focus muscles, and really think about that when I'm out training.
And so you pace yourself, obviously. You must know when to really push, because if you push the whole time.
Yeah, you know, you get to a certain level where you know how much power you're pushing and your heart rate and how much you can actually withstand without what we would say blowing up, without having, you know, getting slower. But yet it also takes mental focus. How many times do you go out during the day and you work out, and at the end of your workout, you know exactly what you're going to do that evening. You know your plans for the weekend. I mean, you didn't focus. But if you can focus on the task at hand, you're going to be much more successful. And that's the sport of time trialing.
I want to ask you a little bit, too, about body type. You're lighter, you're thinner than you were the last time you were on Dialogue. Is it important to be thin to do time trialing? I mean, you want to carry not much weight, but you don't want to be too thin.
Exactly. You know, sometimes when I'm climbing really well, I'm not time trialing my best. And so it's very small margin, but I think the most important is you have to have your power to weight ratio, an optimal power to weight ratio, which means your body weight does have to be light, but you can't lose the power and the strength.
And I think we've got some more pictures of you in the Worlds. The bike itself, is a time trialing bike different than a regular bicycle?
Yeah, the time trial bike has the aerodynamic bars that you can see, and it actually allows you to be in an optimal position, which is much faster. It's just like the motorsports in race car, like NASCAR. You know, they have cars, they go into the wind tunnel, and they make the fastest car out there. And the same thing happens with the time trial bike, and you can see where the aero bars in the front are allowing my position to get down nice and aero, which allows me to actually push less power and go faster.
Now, you got into the sport of bicycling in part because you were diagnosed with arthritis. You had been swimming a lot, which I would think would be a good sport for somebody with arthritis, but the doctor suggested cycling for you, yes?
You know, actually, when I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis, I was doing triathlon.
Yeah, the triathlon.
And so the main piece that I was told really to take out is the running portion because of the impact on the hips. And so it did change my life, but you know, every time they say that when one door closes, another door opens, I think it was, I can look at it now because I'm over that, but I can say it was a blessing in disguise.
Well, we had a question come in off of our Facebook page from Donald. He says that you've been an inspiration to him since he learned of your arthritis. He was diagnosed with severe arthritis in his left hip almost 2 years ago. The doctors all spoke as if a hip replacement was inevitable, a less than appealing outcome. Their perspective on exercise was, in a word, no. He took the outlook of physical therapists instead, who said, take it one day at a time. I engage in all the exercise I used to, except running. But I have been able to increase my cycling and seem to be able to push myself carefully as hard as I want. What is a little unclear is the long term. He said he's worried about that, and he'd appreciate your thoughts on people, cyclists with osteoarthritis like him, and he's worried about hip replacement. Obviously.
You know, it's a catch-22. You're diagnosed with arthritis, and all of a sudden the doctors say, yeah, you shouldn't be so fit, but yet don't carry too much weight. And so, okay, so you can't work out and you can't be overweight, and so how do you balance the two? And what I found is that as long as you are careful with the impact on your body, as my doctor said, it's like a piggy bank and you only have so much left. We're bone on bone with osteoarthritis, and every time you go out and you do something impactful to your hips or your knees, you're going to take a little bit out of that bank. Eventually, one day, we're probably going to end up with artificial hips or artificial knee, but when is that day? I don't know. If we focus on it, if that's what we think about day in, day out, then to me it's depressing. I think that you continue to do what you can without pain, and you live a healthy lifestyle, and when that day comes, sometimes people get hip replacements when they can't ride 20 miles. Sometimes people get replacements when they can't walk to the mailbox. It's up to us when we want these.
Do you have to take painkillers?
I used to be on painkillers, but like the gentleman that wrote in said, he talked to his physical therapist, and I talked to my physical therapist that works here in Boise, Idaho under physio, and he actually had said the same recommendation, and instead of being on prescription medication, he taught me a lot of stretching to do, and now I have gone to stretching routines. I continuously go to yoga, and it's done amazing things for my flexibility.
Folks, we're talking with Kristen Armstrong. She won an Olympic gold medal, and she's also the world champion in cycling time trial. Let's take a call from George in Meridian. George, go on. You're on the air.
Hi, Kristen.
Hello.
This is George.
Hi.
From Michigan, remember?
Oh yeah, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you? By the way, congratulations. And we're all proud of you with the guys and gals who used to work with you. My question is real quick though. Knowing you and knowing how erudite you are and how well you explain things, you explained a lot of things to me about your sport and the people that were in the sport and other athletes. Is there any chance down the road we could see you becoming a commentator like a Dwight Stone? Because I think you did a really good job with us anyways and explaining things to us, and I'd love to see you, especially representing the ladies' end of the business. You know, my little granddaughter Megan just loved you.
Oh yeah.
Well, thanks so much for your call, George. Thanks. Any aspirations to be a commentator?
Yes, you know, I asked myself, I am working with a lot of different companies at the moment, but one of the questions I have is, what am I going to do for my future? What's my next step? What's my next goal in life? And I went after the gold medal, and that's what I was focused on for the last 8 years. And so I'm opening up a new chapter, and I have a lot of passion for sport, and I love being out in the media. I love talking to people, and the opportunities I've had to work with the media, I have a passion for it. And so I would love to begin commentating. Obviously, you have to start off and get a lot of experience to be the best, and just like I did when I started cycling. But commentating is something that I really want to go after, and I think that in the sport of cycling, whether it be men's or women's. You know, I think that there's a lot of great women commentators for the NFL, and I don't see why not with the Tour de France.
Sounds good to me.
Shoot for the top.
Yeah, why not? Let's take a call from Whitney. Whitney in Boise, go ahead, please.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm just wondering, how much does your bike weigh?
Oh, good question.
Well, actually, there's weight limits for my bike, and the regulations when I race, the lightest your bike can be is 14.99 pounds. And my bike is 14.99 pounds.
Well, let's talk about the Olympics in which you used a bike like that. First of all, when you were 7, as I recall, your classmates predicted that this is the world, your classmates predicted that you would be an Olympic champion, which I think is so amazing.
Yeah, it was funny. I was in 2nd grade, and our class was going around saying, oh, we had to actually pick what each other would be. And some people were firefighters, and some people were vets, and some people were doctors, and I was the Olympic champion. And so I always go back to that dream. And did I think it was going to be reality? No, not in a million years. But I sure watched the Olympics every 4 years and watched those swimmers swim up and down the lanes, and they had their names on their caps, and that's all I wanted was my name on that side of the cap.
Well, we've got some more photos of you in the Olympics. Last time we talked, as I mentioned, in 2004, you had finished 8th, but you hadn't been allowed in the time trial, which was a real bummer for you. That was a motivator, though, wasn't it, to keep going?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of things happen for a reason. And after 2004, when I wasn't chosen for the Olympic team as a time trialist, I promised myself that I was going to do everything I could to train so hard to be chosen for the 2005 World Championship team.
How do you do that? I mean, 4 years out, how do you keep yourself so motivated?
I really believe in goal setting. I think there's so many people out there that have dreams, but they don't back it up with goals. And if you don't have goals, long-term, short-term, daily goals, it doesn't happen.
Was your training regimen different than before? Did you do anything different, do you think, that pushed you from 8th up to 1st?
Well, I think that what happens is you have a relationship with your coach, and every year you work with your coach, you become better and better working partners. And I think that by working with my coach for 8 years...
I think we've got a picture of the two of you actually together.
Yeah, that was one advantage I had. But also you start looking at every little piece of it. Going down to the wind tunnel, that gained me time. You know, eating properly, making sure that my core was strong, working on my focus skills. You know, the easy part about sport and being at the top is actually riding my bike. That's the easiest part. I love riding my bike. And so if that's all I had to do, but the problem is every one of your competitors does the same thing.
And you're training here in Idaho. We see footage of you and your former teammate Liza Ricchetto. Mm-hmm. How important is it for you to, I mean, you could go anywhere. You could go to California where it's warm. You could go to Colorado where it's high altitude. Mm-hmm. Why did you stay here and train in Idaho?
You know, living in Boise and coming down, actually graduated from University of Idaho, I just felt one with the state of Idaho. I think that the people are really friendly, but as I got into sport, the community really was a supportive community. There's great cyclists here. I train with a lot of guys. I train with the guys that came out of the shop at George's, a lot of the Masters riders. They taught me how to ride my bike. They really did. And without this support in this community, I would definitely not be where I am. I got my start in professional cycling at the 2002 Hewlett-Packard Women's Challenge. And without that race, I wouldn't have accomplished what I did.
And the landscape must help too. I mean, I actually have seen you going over Galena Summit. The mountains here obviously are a good training.
Oh, it's gorgeous. You can have flat training, hilly training, anything you want.
So let's take a look at your medal.
Yes.
You brought your Olympic medal, and I thought it was interesting. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the medal here is, the inner ring is actually white jade, and every country that hosts an Olympic Games has something that's unique about their country. And jade is the gem of China. And so the gold medal has white jade, the silver medal has green jade, which we are most familiar with, and then the bronze medal has a really deep green jade, which actually looks black unless you're in the light.
It must be amazing to look at it. I don't know.
Yeah, it actually has some heft to it too. It's pretty. It's pretty heavy.
This, as I mentioned, was the first time a woman had won cycling gold, right? Since 1984.
1984.
Why aren't there more women, American women, I should say, at the top?
You know, I think that we are born with a ball in our hand. We have baseball practice, we have soccer practice, we have football practice, and the sport of cycling is really based out of Europe. Kids grow up on a bike in Europe. We don't. And yes, we do. We go to our friend's house. We go down the cul-de-sac. But is it a sport? I didn't know about the sport until after college. And so now the U.S. is really getting to know the sport. You know, Lance Armstrong has done a great job with the sport, winning several Tour de France titles, coming back to the sport. And so I'm hoping that I'm encouraging young women to come into the sport. And it's a great sport. Not all of us fit in the traditional sports. And so it's possible to have success at a younger age, but at the same time, it is an older sport, such as a marathon, because of the endurance required.
Kristen, is doping as much of a problem in professional women's cycling as it appears to be in the men's field?
You know, I think that there's more riders in the men's field than the women's field, and so obviously there are more doping cases. In the women's field, doping isn't as prominent because women's cycling isn't lucrative. And so at the end of the day, we're doing this sport because we want to. If you look at a women's peloton, most of them have masters, they're doctors. You would be amazed of these women's titles. And so to me,
the peloton is the pack.
Yes,
yeah.
The peloton is the pack, the group of riders out there. And so if you look at all the cyclists that we have and that I race amongst, it's amazing. It's our choice that we're racing. We're not getting paid millions of dollars to do this. And so the pressures aren't there as much as they are for the men.
So you never felt tempted or anything like that?
No, it's not out in the open. It's not offered. It's something that I think that if an individual is going to decide to cheat, that they're going to do this on their own.
Let's take another call from Becky in Caldwell. Becky, go ahead, please.
Yes, I was wondering if, Kristen, if you're going to host any cycling clinics.
Great question.
Anytime soon?
Thank you so much, Becky. Do you want to take one? Did you want to take a clinic?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and how old are you?
I am actually 29.
Super. Thanks so much for calling. This is the next, you're wearing your Kristen Armstrong Cycling Academy shirt. This is the next phase for you.
Yes, and I appreciate that question. You know, I am starting academy, which is, you know, another word for camp. I'm going to go out across the nation. I'm going to put on camps for all different ages. I think that there is a need for this, whether it's wanting to compete in the sport or wanting to better your skills. But I do plan to do camps in the Boise area. And if you go to KristenArmstrongAcademy.com, actually you can email me, and I would love to hear your thoughts and what sort of camp you're looking for.
And you're not necessarily focused on the elite athlete.
No, actually, I didn't pick up the bike again until after college, and it took me a while to get my skills back, you know, to descend, to brake, to learn how to change a tire. And so I'm actually interested in working with individuals that were like me and got a later start on the bike and are actually just trying to become comfortable again. And then on the flip side, I want to introduce the sport to young women ages 15 to 18 years old, high school age. Like I said, not everyone fits into traditional sports.
I sure wish I had had that when I was younger. Let's take another question from Heather in Victor, Idaho. Thanks for calling all the way from Victor. Go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, I was just curious. Kristen, do you really take chocolate milk with you on training rides?
Great question. Thanks so much. We've got I think, a commercial of you promoting chocolate milk.
Yes. I actually don't take it on training rides because I use chocolate milk for my recovery. And so drinking chocolate milk during a training ride might not mix very well and might upset you a little bit, but as a recovery drink, it's my favorite recovery drink, and a lot of studies that are out there now are showing that it's just as good as any recovery mix on the market.
For people who are lactose intolerant and for whom milk would be problematic, what do you suggest for replacement?
Well, you know, I think, like I said, I think that there's a lot of great products on the market. I like to drink chocolate milk because it's natural. It is actually a lot less expensive. But for people that are lactose intolerant, there are also other options that are on the market.
Do you recommend anything?
You know, I like to keep to natural foods, and so another one of my favorite snacks that has protein in it is peanut butter.
Because you can't drink that though. But
you can't drink it.
but maybe a juice or something? Or
yeah, I mean, there's
natural juice.
You know, you want to always make sure that within the 30-minute period that you're refilling with carbohydrates. And one of the biggest things I recommend when you can't drink milk is find a drink that you enjoy. Because the minute you're actually given something that you don't enjoy, then you're not going to drink it and you're not going to recover. So if it's something that you want to drink, such as a Powerade or a Gatorade, also combine that with a little bit of protein.
And you've got recipes online that people can go read about. We're running out of time, unfortunately, but I know another issue that's really important to you is bike safety. We've had, unfortunately, a number of deaths in Idaho of bicyclists, and you've recorded a public service announcement about that. 3 feet to pass, that's what people are promoting, a law in Idaho that would require cars to pass cyclists by 3 feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, unfortunately we had some tragic accidents here in the Valley this past summer, and not only in the Valley, but I had heard of a few as well in Twin Falls, and it's very sad, especially since you know that it can happen to you any day. And so really,
this is a silent bike rally in support of the people, or the families who've lost members.
Yeah, the community really came together when these accidents happened, and it was a real eye-opening experience for all of us. And I really just want others to realize, motorists to realize, that cyclists out there, they're your neighbors. They're actually motorists as well. They're your doctors. They're normal people. We're all out there just trying to get fit and be active. And we need to respect one another. We need to share the road. And I can't stress this message enough, because at the end of the day, nobody wins.
Kristen, as we wrap up, where do you think the sport of cycling is going, particularly for women? We hear so much about Lance Armstrong, but there's a lot of women out there cycling as well.
I think the sport of cycling for women is only going up. We have collegiate programs now, and they're actually just opened up a mountain bike statewide high school program in California and in Colorado. And so I hope Idaho follows suit sometime soon. We're a perfect place for it. And so I think that it's only going up, and I'm really excited to be part of this. Now that I'm retired, I can't wait to go out and help others, like I said, reach their dreams.
Well, thank you so much for taking some questions from viewers and talking with me, and congratulations once again on all your wonderful accomplishments. We'll look forward to what you do in the future. You've been listening to Kristen Armstrong talk on Dialogue. As usual, thanks for tuning into this edition. We hope you'll join us same time next week.
Presentation of Dialogue on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family's legacy of building the great state of Idaho. To order a copy of this program from Idaho Public Television, call our toll-free number or visit us on the World Wide Web.